Watching my son Leo navigate his first serious relationship has been a lesson in itself. He's 16, and his girlfriend Maya is the same age. They've been dating for about 7 months now, and honestly, it's been nothing but drama. I see the changes in him, the way his shoulders slump when he comes home, the confused look in his eyes after a phone call with her. It's hard to watch as a mother. Leo is a sincere boy. When he cares about someone, he really puts his heart into it. He values honesty and straightforwardness. That's why Maya's behavior has been so difficult for him to understand. He wants a deeper connection, a bit more commitment. And during the week, she'll agree. She'll send sweet messages, talk about their future, make plans for romantic moments together. He gets his hopes up. You can see it in his eyes. But then, when he actually tries to approach her, when they're together in person and he wants to move forward, she pulls back. She suddenly changes her mind. She blames him, telling him she's not ready, or that he's pushing too fast. It leaves him so confused. He comes home trying to piece together what happened, wondering what he did wrong. And then, without fail, she does the same thing the next week. It's a cycle, a pattern I've come to recognize all too well. I've tried to give him space, to figure things out on his own, to learn from his own experiences. But as his mom, it's hard not to notice the clear game she's playing. It looks to me like she doesn't really want him, but she also doesn't want to let him go. She wants the attention, the security of having him there, but without the vulnerability or true intimacy that comes with it. We live in Crestwood, a quiet suburban town. Their high school, Crestwood High, is where they see each other every day, where these emotional shifts play out in the hallways and at lunch. Leo comes home, and the energy he carries tells me everything. Sometimes he tries to hide it, but I can see the hurt, the puzzlement in his eyes. He'll replay their conversations, trying to find a reason for her sudden coldness after a period of warmth. It breaks my heart a little each time, seeing him so earnestly trying to understand something that, from my perspective, is designed to be confusing. I've talked to Jake, Leo's father, about it. He sees it too. We both worry about Leo getting stuck in this unhealthy loop. Leo is such a good boy. He deserves someone who is clear and consistent with him. This back and forth, this constant uncertainty, it's not good for his spirit. I just hope he can see it for himself soon, before he gets too deeply wounded by these games. It's a difficult line to walk as a parent, wanting to protect your child but knowing they also need to learn their own lessons. The drama intensified when Maya announced she wanted a break from the relationship. This hit Leo hard. He was devastated, of course, but he's a respectful kid, so he tried to give her the space she asked for. He didn't text her right away. He was hurting, but he was also trying to honor her request, to give her that distance she said she needed. But that lasted only 2 days. After just 48 hours of silence from his end, Maya started texting him again. I saw his phone light up, and I saw the confusion on his face as he read her messages. She was calling him stubborn and other names. She was blaming him for not responding, for not chasing her, even though she was the one who said she needed a break. It was bewildering to him, and honestly, it was bewildering to me too, to see such a clear contradiction. This cycle, where she'd push him away by saying she needed space, and then pull him back by blaming him when he created that space, happened over and over. It was a constant tug of war, and Leo was always the one left feeling bewildered and hurt. He'd come to me, his brow furrowed, trying to make sense of her words. She says she wants a break, he'd tell me. Then she gets mad when I don't reply right away. What does she even want? The desperation in his voice was clear. He just wanted to understand. I'd talked to Jake about it. He'd watch Leo too, and we both saw the pattern. She's playing games, Jake would say, simply. She doesn't want him, but she doesn't want to let him go. It was plain as day to us as adults, but for Leo, who was experiencing it for the first time, it was a maze of mixed signals and emotional landmines. He was so deeply invested, so hopeful, that if he just tried harder, or understood her better, things would somehow become clear. Its emotional inconsistency was draining him. I saw his energy dip, his usual cheerful demeanor replaced by a quiet pensiveness. He was constantly analyzing, trying to decipher what Maya truly meant versus what she said. It was exhausting just to witness, let alone to live through. I knew I needed to step in, gently but firmly. I couldn't let him keep playing these games. I couldn't let him keep sacrificing his own peace for someone who seemed unwilling to offer basic honesty or consistency. I had to help him see what was truly happening, even if it meant a painful conversation. One evening, after another particularly bewildering exchange with Maya, Leo came to me. He walked into the kitchen where I was doing dishes, his shoulders slumped, his face clouded with confusion. He didn't even need to say anything. I could see the distress in his eyes. He recounted the latest incident, how Maya had texted him after 2 days of break, accusing him of being stubborn because he hadn't responded immediately. His voice was filled with a mixture of hurt and sheer bewilderment. She wants a break, then calls me names when I don't chase her. What does she even want, Mom? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper, looking for an answer I knew she wasn't giving him. I dried my hands and turned to face him fully. This was the moment. I had to be honest, but gentle. I sat him down at the kitchen table, and I took a deep breath. Leo, I began, I've been watching this, and I've talked to your dad about it too. What I'm seeing is a pattern, sweet boy. I explained it to him as clearly as I could. She says yes, yes, yes during the week, when you're talking about wanting more or making plans. But then, when you approach her, she falls back and blames you, telling you she's not ready. I paused, letting my words sink in. And then, she does the same thing again, week after week. I continued. Now, she wants a break, but then she texts you, and when you don't respond, she calls you stubborn and other names. I laid out the whole cycle, piece by piece, just as I had observed it happening over and over again. What your dad and I are seeing, Leo, I said softly, is that she's playing games. She doesn't want you, but she also doesn't want to let you go. Leo listened, his gaze fixed on my face. His expression shifted slowly from confusion to a dawning recognition. It was a painful realization, I could tell, but it was also a necessary one. He had been so caught up in trying to make sense of her actions, he hadn't seen the clear, manipulative pattern from a distance. He just wanted things to be real, to be straightforward. This is happening over and over, I reminded him gently. And it's not fair to you. It's draining your energy and your spirit. You deserve honesty, Leo, and consistency. I could see the weight of what I was saying settling on him. It was a difficult truth to hear, especially about someone he cared for so much. But the clarity in his eyes, even through the sadness, was evident. He was starting to see the relationship not just through his hopeful heart, but with a more honest, objective view. The choice was becoming clearer for him. The conversation with my mom, Sarah, shifted something inside me. It was like she had taken all the tangled threads of my feelings and Maya's confusing actions and laid them out neatly, showing me the knot I was caught in. She didn't use harsh words or blame Maya, but her gentle explanation of the pattern Maya was creating was enough. Sarah said that what she was seeing was that Maya was playing games. She didn't truly want me, but she also didn't want to let me go. This thought, coming from my mom, resonated deeply. It hurt to hear, but it also made a lot of sense. I had been so caught up in trying to understand her reasons, to find a logical explanation for her inconsistencies. I wanted to believe that if I just tried harder, or was more patient, or understood her unspoken needs, everything would click into place. But what Sarah was saying was that it wasn't about me. It was about Maya's own unresolved issues, her own fear of commitment or intimacy, and her way of dealing with it by pushing me away, then pulling me back. Sitting there at the kitchen table, I started to see the pattern clearly for myself. I remembered all the times during the week when Maya would be so affectionate, texting me constantly, making plans, saying yes, 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 to wanting a bit more from our relationship. Then, when we were together, or when I tried to show that deeper affection, she would fall back, blaming me and saying she wasn't ready. And then, the break she wanted, followed by her calling me stubborn when I didn't immediately respond. This cycle had been happening over and over. It was painful to look at it so directly. It meant admitting that the relationship I had invested so much in, the one I had hoped would grow into something truly special, was built on a foundation of inconsistency and emotional manipulation. It meant letting go of the hope that things would just magically get better if I waited long enough. My mom didn't tell me what to do. She just laid out the facts, the patterns she and my dad had been observing. She asked me, should he just pull the pin or keep playing these games? That question hung in the air. It wasn't a demand, but a gentle prompt for me to consider my own well-being. And as I thought about it, the answer slowly became clear. Continuing to play these games would only lead to more confusion and more hurt for me. I deserved honesty. I deserved consistency. I deserved someone who actually wanted to be with me, without all the back and forth. It was a tough realization, but it felt right. The decision to end things with Maya wasn't easy, but it felt right. It was a clear choice for my own peace of mind. I decided to talk to her in person, at Willow Creek Park, a place where we had spent many happy afternoons. It felt like the right setting for a conversation that needed to be honest, even if it was going to be difficult. When we met, I could see the confusion in her eyes when I started to speak. I tried to keep my voice calm and steady. I told her that the back and forth, the way our relationship kept having these cycles of wanting more and then pulling away, was too confusing for me. I explained that I needed honesty and consistency, and that this pattern happening over and over wasn't healthy for either of us. I didn't blame her. I just stated how I felt and what I needed. As I spoke, she tried her usual tactics. She blamed me, saying I was being stubborn. She told me I wasn't understanding her, or that I was being too sensitive. It was the same script I had heard many times before, but this time it was different. Armed with my mom's words, with my own clearer understanding of the games she was playing, her accusations didn't sting the same way. They didn't confuse me. Instead, they just confirmed what I had already come to realize. I stood firm. It was hard, really hard, to look at someone you cared about and hold your ground when they were trying to manipulate you. But I knew this was important. I told her that I wished her well, but that I needed to move on from a relationship that wasn't giving me what I needed. It was a painful conversation, filled with silence and her frustration, but I didn't back down. When it was over, walking away from her at the park felt heavy and light at the same time. There was a deep sadness, a sense of loss for the relationship I had truly wanted. But there was also a profound sense of relief. It was like a knot in my stomach had finally unraveled. The constant anxiety, the endless questioning of her motives, the trying to decipher mixed signals, all of that was gone. I felt a sense of freedom, a quiet pride in standing up for myself and my own emotional well-being. Coming home, my mom and dad met me with quiet understanding. They didn't need to ask anything. They just gave me a hug. I knew they saw the sadness, but also the newfound peace in my eyes. It was the end of a chapter, a bittersweet one, but a necessary one. It taught me a lot about what I truly needed in a relationship, and more importantly, about self-respect. The days and weeks after ending things with Maya brought a quiet kind of peace. It wasn't that I stopped thinking about her entirely, but the constant emotional roller coaster, the confusion, and the hurt that had become so familiar finally faded. It was like closing a door on something that had been draining my energy for too long. My mom and dad, Sarah and Jake, were incredibly supportive. They didn't dwell on it or bring her up constantly. They just offered comfort and understanding, which was exactly what I needed. I spent more time with my friends, doing things that actually made me happy, without the underlying tension of wondering if Maya would suddenly pull away or blame me for something. We played basketball at Willow Creek Park, hung out at the corner cafe, just being teenagers. It felt lighter. I realized how much mental space had been occupied by trying to decipher Maya's mixed signals and predict her next move. Now that space was free, and it felt good. Looking back, I could see the pattern so clearly. Maya wanted a break, then called me stubborn when I didn't respond immediately. This cycle happened over and over. It was like she didn't want me, but she didn't want to let me go either. My mom had seen it, and her gentle words had helped me see it too. It was a tough lesson. Realizing that someone you care about can be so inconsistent, can play games like that. But it was a necessary lesson. I also realized the importance of self-respect. For so long, I had been trying to make the relationship work, even when it meant sacrificing my own emotional well-being. I was so eager to please, so hopeful that if I just understood her better, things would change. But they never did. The constant push and pull, the blaming, it was a draining cycle. I knew that I deserved honesty and consistency, and that staying in a relationship that didn't offer that was doing myself a disservice. This experience really solidified what I needed in future relationships. I learned that healthy connections are built on clear communication and mutual respect, not on confusion and emotional games. It was a hard way to learn, but I wouldn't trade the clarity I gained for anything. It was a step forward, a significant one, in understanding myself and what I truly needed to feel safe and happy. The sadness of the breakup slowly turned into a quiet confidence.